What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the shop. It's been a crazy couple days, couple weeks in the market. Um, but I want to talk to you guys about something, and then I want you guys to listen to something I'm gonna put on for you guys. By the way, you guys can follow me on IG now. After 5 years, I finally reset my password and I'm back on there. You can follow me at DAG Dog Apple Girl 13R DAG 13R. You can follow me there. I'll accept all. Message me, whatever. Anyways, the short attack is real. It's getting crazy. But I truly, truly believe that the strong will survive and go to the moon. I'm going to let you guys listen to something right now from a gentleman named Jonathan Burbank, right? I'm going to let you guys listen to this, give you more perspective of what's actually going on, and I'm going to tell you guys what I think about this, and I'm going to tell you guys whether I think... well, the good things I see in it and the bad things I see in it. Just give you guys my opinion on this overall situation. But I definitely see some light coming from this. And with that being said, I'll turn this on for you guys.
So something that's being missed in the way that market makers and hedge funds are operating is the technology that they're using. And what we need to realize is when we look at what's happening in the markets, especially with OTC, because OTC has less requirements, less regulation. The weird price action you see, I did a video, the last video that I did, I actually showed how placing an order on the level 2, other orders were dropping off almost instantaneously. As soon as I would remove my order, those orders would come back on. When I would place an order just, a fraction of a penny above an order that was existing, that order would stay there. But when I put it just fraction of a penny underneath, the order would completely disappear. So what's happening is not natural. If the designated market makers are tasked with creating liquidity and making sure that there's a price discovery, they're not doing it. And it's because when, if in that situation I was just talking about, if you have a market maker that's trying to do real price discovery, if I as a trader am willing to pay a fraction of a penny over where they have their number in, then their number should disappear because I'm willing to pay what they aren't. And the flip side of that too. If they have an order for 10,000 shares in there to create liquidity at, let's say, 35 cents, and I bring in my shares, and I place a sell order at 35 and a half cents, theirs should disappear. Because they are in there to create liquidity. They're in there to create price discovery, natural, organic price discovery. If I come in at half a cent over them, their 10,000 shares that are there solely for liquidity should disappear. But it doesn't work that way. It only works that way if I put my shares in half a penny under them. And they'll actually move their orders down. So if they have theirs in at 35 cents, I come in at 34 and a half cents. Their 10,000 shares drops to 34 and a half. If I remove mine, theirs jumps back up to 35, or sometimes it stays at 34 and a half. Now this is a problem because if they're like I said, if they're in there to create liquidity, if they're in there to create price discovery, natural price discovery, then they should be removing their shares as other people are putting in their shares to the market, because they are actually manipulating the shares, the share price to go up or down based on where they're putting in those orders. And again, I have actual recording of that happening in my last video. And why is this happening? Well, one thing you got to understand about the way that these companies actually function as market makers, the way they actually run the market, is all through AI. And artificial intelligence is software that's actually determining this. And what happens is, so in 2017, 2018, a lot of the hedge funds, a lot of the market makers, they started hiring AI talent across the world, and some big names of AI programmers. They are hiring them to build the software that runs the market. And why is this a problem? Well, it wouldn't be a problem if if the AI wasn't tasked with not only creating liquidity, doing price discovery, fulfilling orders, placing orders, routing orders. It wouldn't be a problem, but the problem is that these companies are not out to lose money. So along with the natural task that they're given, the AI is performing all these things, but they're also tasked with not losing money. And AI is very good at what it does. To give you a little background, in 2013, 2014, Google and DeepMind, they created an AI where they had it play Atari Breakout. So, and what's interesting about it is when they put it together, they told the AI, here's the score. All we want, all the parameters that they gave the AI was to win by making the score go up. So they gave the AI these parameters. Your objective is to win the game, and you win by driving the score up. So the first couple times the ball comes down, it hits the paddle, it goes up, it breaks the block, and the AI is watching this happen. It doesn't understand that you got to move the paddle. It doesn't understand that you've got to bounce the ball up to hit the blocks. All it's doing is watching. The ball comes down, breaks a block, and it sees the score go up. The AI was able to watch and see that as these blocks disappeared, the score went up. As the ball comes down and bounces and hits the block, the score goes up. It also recognized that it has the ability to move the paddle. And as it moves the paddle, the ball bounces, the blocks disappear, the score goes up. That's all it needed. After 10 minutes of playing, it's clunky, but it starts to understand the benefit of moving the paddle so that the ball bounces up to hit these blocks. And you can see that here. After 2 hours of training, 2 hours of playing the game by itself with no human intervention, it's playing like an expert. It understands that it moves the paddle, it breaks the blocks, and that score goes up. And it almost never misses. 2 hours of training. After 4 hours of training, this is where the AI is smart enough that it realizes that if it can direct the ball to the left-hand side and drive a tunnel up above the blocks, then the ball will bounce off the ceiling and come down and hit the blocks. And it will be able to...
Yeah, so what he's basically saying is this. And by the way, shout out to all my AITX investors that believe in AI technology is the future. He's basically saying there's a game where AI is playing the game and there's a row of blocks and this ball. The objective of the game is for the bar to catch the ball while it's going up and down and not let the ball hit the ground, but chop as many blocks off in this row of blocks as it can while catching the ball. And the AI got so advanced after 2 hours of training that it was able to knock off a whole left side of the blocks, was able to establish a pattern where it knocks off the left side of the blocks, it goes through that tunnel of the left side because it just knocked out all those blocks, go from the top and just bounce up and down from the ceiling because there's a space between the blocks and the ceiling. You go up and down and demolish all those blocks from the top because then the ball's just bouncing up and down. The bar doesn't even have to catch it from the bottom.
To win much faster, get that higher score much quicker than if it was just bouncing it off and hitting it one by one. This is the power of AI. And this is a simple Google DeepMind experiment, and they had to play Atari. These market makers and hedge funds have billions of dollars at their fingertips. And they have used AI to automate a huge percentage of everything they do. Now, if that's what AI can do with Atari Breakout, what do you think AI can do with a market, with a financial market where the AI has all the keys, it has all the control over what price does, what shares are put into the market, how many shares at what point. And if you task that AI with creating liquidity, finding price discovery, fulfilling orders, it takes in the orders, it decides whether to fill it with its own stock of the company, with what shares the company already owns, or to put it out to the market. It decides whether to fill that at all. And you task that AI with trying to minimize the amount of money that the company loses by having to fill orders where there are no shares available. Or, if they're really scummy, trying to tell the AI to maximize the amount of profits that the company makes when there are no shares available. So imagine that an AI is doing all this, and the AI, in order to fulfill all of its commands, it realizes that it can put plenty of shares on the market and drive the price down, or it can restrict shares from being on the market and the price goes up. And that's what you see happening in the other video I posted. As I was putting in orders below where they had theirs, their orders disappeared. My orders got filled, and then one, a quarter of a penny under where I had mine filled, they put in another one. Or they're putting in all these orders with chunks of shares below the bid, scaring people into selling. They put, when they start to run out of shares, or when they see their losses starting to accumulate, they put a ton of shares on the ask. They put 1 million shares on the ask. And when you have a few thousand shares on the bid and 1 million shares on the ask, who's going to buy that stock? Who's buying? Nobody. So, us as humans, we look at that, and if we are capable enough to realize the patterns and to make decisions based on that, and AI is going to be far superior. AI can literally take in thousands of different data points virtually at the same moment and make decisions based on that. They can react based on thousands of data points simultaneously. No human can do that. So as AI continues to do this, as AI continues to have exposure, as you saw in the video with DeepMind and Atari, it gets better and better. It anticipates, it changes the way it does things to maximize and become more efficient at whatever it was given as commands. And you can see that happening. These market makers, hedge funds, over the last few months have lost tons and tons of money because of all the short squeezes, because of the behavior of retail has changed. The behavior of retail has suddenly become counterintuitive to the AI and what it's been used to for the last few years. Before this year, retail was afraid. They traded scared. They got out of positions that weren't working. Nobody was holding. Nobody was diamond hands. Nobody was to the moon. That's all recently. So when that stuff started happening, short squeezes started happening, meme stocks, and everything that we see going on, none of that had ever been experienced before by these programs. And they had to adjust. And as the losses started racking up, the AI started adjusting, and the solution.
All right, guys. So what I get from this is, they're doing what they can. It goes on to say that, basically they don't get fined too much. That they're getting fined, 700,000 here, 20 million here, 32 million here. Said it got funded, and these fines don't really mean anything to these hedge funds because they're making billions and billions and billions of dollars doing this. After all said and done, to me, I don't want to say I know, but there's nothing inside me that doesn't think that the strong companies like AITX, like AXXA, like CLIS, like SFOR will not survive this and then explode after this. I think what they're doing is getting rid of the weak hands for that move up, because that's when they're gonna make the real money, when these companies that they're after right now, that they're shorting, because they're trying to grab that as low of a price as possible. But there's floors to all these stocks, and these floors are gonna keep getting higher and higher. They might keep doing this, but these floors are gonna keep getting higher and higher, and these stocks are gonna explode once they've shift off, right? And the floors are there. They go to another stock. Those stocks that were just heavily shorted, there's gonna be so much money piling into these from the retailers that, first of all, the rest of the shorts are going to get squeezed, and then it's just going to rocket. This is what I truly feel after all said and done. So, again, what I really feel is happening, all the weak hands, they're going to be out of here. They're going to be sick. They're going to get left behind. So stay strong. And let's get this money, guys. With AITX, that floor is strong. But they're coming at it hard, as they're doing with the other three stocks I just mentioned and a lot of others. HCMC, plenty other ones. By the way, I did that portfolio the other day. I did make a move yesterday, which I'll get into. I got a video to do with OZSC and new purchase that I made yesterday. I actually got rid of most of Space, which I told you guys I was planning to do. And I bought about 22,000 shares of GGTTF. Right, I'm going to do a video on that one soon. Salute, guys. Have a great night. I'll get back at you later. Take care.